Hello, everyone. We are back and welcome to Dugout Daily. I'm Charlie and I'm joined by Bernard again. How are you, mate?
Come on, I mean, where have you been? Where have you been, mate? I mean,
Oh.
I've kept going. You disappeared for a bit.
So basically, long story short, I dropped my laptop on the stairs and it was
Are you
not a
sure you
good
didn't
time.
throw it? Didn't you throw it in disgust at the? Oh no, it was well before the Southampton game. What
Oh,
game
it was.
was
It was
it?
before Swindon, I think.
Yeah, I was just going to say that. Probably, so it must have been that I thought you might be watching the Swindon game when they pulled it back to 3-1. I think you might have thrown the laptop out the window or something like
While in the stadium. Jesus. Imagine a laptop just on the pitch. But
well,
yeah,
why not with the cups and the bottles and God knows what that gets
yeah.
on the pitch nowadays?
Yeah. So we'll get straight to it then. Talking everything City over the last month. We'll start with the FA Cup third round match away at Swindon. To be honest, it was nearly a month ago, so I can't remember much of it. What was your thoughts on this match, Bernard?
Yeah, I'm just looking at the player ratings, and it wasn't great, was it? It was. I do remember at 3-1. I think they had a free kick straight after it, and I was thinking, oh God, they couldn't get this to 3-2 here, which is you shouldn't be thinking like that against a team like Swindon, to be honest with you. So it couldn't have been a fantastic performance, and I don't think it was a fantastic performance. I think it was 2-0 at half time, wasn't it? We went in 2-0, quite comfortable, but I think both of those were errors by Swindon that had caused it. And I think one guy who didn't impress me against Swindon, and I have been impressed with him quite recently when he has appeared, was Stefan. I thought he was a bit rubbishy again against Swindon. And for me, he went up in my expectation. I think we probably chatted about it on here, mate, when he's played. I've been quite impressed. He's looked a lot more competent. But as I say, he's not playing much. So that's the problem, isn't it? I think he's too old a player now to be on the bench. I think Stefan needs games. I think he needs week in, week out pressure of matches. I don't think it's doing him any good. Obviously, playing for the US, obviously if some other US goalkeeper comes along, it won't do him any good. And I just thought he was a bit poor against Swindon, but. Understandable because he's not getting the regular games. He didn't have a lot to do, but I just don't think he was that good at what he had to do. And just looking at some of the player ratings, I mean. I think Jesus stood out in the game a little bit, and Palmer played extremely well. If you remember, he sort of all the players, our least experienced player on the pitch was our standout, and it was comfortable in the end. But as I say, there was very few positives to take out of it.
Yeah, definitely. We have actually just heard news in the last couple of minutes. Josh Wilson as brand has just signed a new 5-year contract, so he'll be at the club until 2027. So that's more good news. A lot of new contracts have been coming out over the last couple of weeks. We'll get to that in a bit. But this next game, a huge game at home to Chelsea, and a great 1-0 win as well. Great De Bruyne goal in this game as well. Thoughts on this game, Bernard?
Yeah, I was a bit worried Tuchel would be brave in this. I thought Tuchel would go for it, but in the end, he just didn't really want to lose this, and that cost him because he didn't. I don't think he was brave enough with his team selection. I don't think he was brave enough in the tactics he played, and that's what Tuchel can do. Sometimes it works for him; he gets away with it. But Chelsea hadn't been playing very well, had they? Let's be honest about it. So it was probably a good time to play. And again, I don't think we were fantastic, but we were definitely at it. We were definitely at them from the kickoff, which we'll talk about Southampton game in a minute. It was totally different, but we were really up for it. We were really keen, and even though it's only 1-0 in the end, I mean, it's sort of understated how dominant City were. And I said, I think Tuchel will probably have got in at half time quite happy with that. And I think that sort of could have worked for him, could have worked against him. The fact they went in at half time, I think 0-0, wasn't it, at half time? And he probably thought we're not going to change much here, but. That sort of worked out for us. We did get the goal in eventually, and obviously, who was it who scored? Can you remember offhand? I can't remember who scored now.
De Bruyne.
De Bruyne, yeah, fantastic. I mean, it took an exceptional goal to win it. Let's not forget, it was a brilliant goal, but thoroughly deserved. We should have perhaps done a little bit better in front of goal. But, they got what they deserved, Chelsea, which was absolutely nothing because they didn't come to win that game. And City, as I said, even though we were at it and we were pressurising, we didn't create a bucket full of chances. And we did need a little bit of magic from KDB to win it, but thoroughly deserved. There's absolutely no doubt in anyone's mind that City did deserve to win that game. And it just, I think Chelsea have had a couple of good results since, but it just shown that they were struggling a bit. And obviously, I think it puts about 13, 15 points ahead of them at that stage. I mean, I think they closed the gap a little bit now, but it's sort of more or less put them out of it. And as I say, we played well, but again, not to our best, but we worked hard, and that's what won through in the end.
Yeah. And our latest game, it does seem quite a while ago, to be honest. Southampton away, very frustrating 1-1 draw in that one. What was your thoughts on that game?
Yeah, I was down at that one. I was down at St Mary's for the first time. I've never been there. I went to the Dell once many moons ago, but I've never been to Southampton. Very, very disappointing. We didn't, as if you take the Chelsea game where we started on fire, we didn't actually start that bad against Southampton. We had two good chances. I remember a couple of headers flashing wide. Jesus had a great header that just went wide. I think it might have been Diaz. I'm not too sure. Someone else had a. So in the first 5 or 6 minutes, we did have a couple of good chances that we could have easily been 2-0 up because they only just missed. They only just went wide from memory. But that goal, you can't do anything. I mean, Foden was probably a bit lazy. I think he got a bit of stick. It just seemed to. Perhaps that's the tactics. Someone said it. Perhaps that Pep's what he said to him. Don't bother chasing back like that because there's plenty of cover. There was never any threat that there was going to be a goal. I mean, obviously, I watched the match there, and it was at our end where we were. I did watch it back as well later on big match first extended highlights just to confirm. And Foden did sort of give up on it, but even then, we didn't think anything had happened. And Walker Peters, he's not renowned for goal scoring, is he? I mean, that was his first goal ever in the Premier League, and what a cracking goal! In the way that KDB's was a brilliant goal against Chelsea, took it well. I mean, I don't think Ederson was at fault. I don't think there's anything he could have done to save it. And you go 1-0 behind against Southampton. We're a quite organised team, and it's a problem. We never upped it. We never upped the tempo till about 5 minutes before half time, where we started to have a go again. But as I say, once we went 1-1, I thought we would win it. But unfortunately, again, we just weren't quite at it in certain places on the pitch. Certain players, again, didn't have a fantastic game. So when I look at my sort of ratings, some players let us down a little bit. And there's certain gentlemen who'd had a couple of good games previous to this, and we thought, oh, he's on his way back. Mr. Sterling, total disaster in this one. And he was by far our worst player on the day. Very depressing to see that because he'd been performing very, very well. I mean, how he missed that chance that could have been 1-1 before half time. Well, I don't know. He's got to be putting them in, but we know he can miss from 2 yards. We've seen it before, but he can also bury them. So that was a bit upsetting. I think if we got in at 1-1 at half time, I think we would have gone on and won that quite comfortably. But going in 1-0 again, we had to still work hard that second half. And once the VAR got involved on checking penalty decisions and all this, and it was gone. That was it. The game was gone then. We just sort of flitted out at 1-1 once we got a deserved equaliser. Again, a defender. We know none of our midfielders scored. Well, obviously KDB in the Chelsea game, but we had to rely on a defender from a set piece, and it was brilliant. I didn't celebrate the match because I thought there's about 5 City players offside, and obviously you can't with VAR you can't really celebrate. And obviously there was a check, but obviously watching it back, he was well onside. Of course, all the other guys were offside, but Laporte had timed it perfectly. Laporte, sorry, I can't say Laporte. That's not how it's pronounced. I keep saying it. Laporte. He took it brilliant header. And I did think we'd go on and win. We didn't. We just weren't good enough again. We weren't quite at it against Southampton, which it was a bit of a shame. Were we tired? Probably not. I mean, I don't think that's an excuse. We should have won it. We didn't. And obviously, give Liverpool a little chink of light, didn't it, to try and come back at us. I say we've still got a bit of a cushion, but it would have been nice to win that before the break because for the players as well, because they've had to sit that out now. They've had to go away on holiday and do various things, and I'm sure it's not in the forefront of the minds. But when you're a player, you want to get out and do better again. So. Yeah, a bit disappointing, but a point's a point, and it could be important by the end of the season. But again, all credit to Southampton. They played it perfectly. You know, they wasted time perfectly. They had no ball boys, so the City players were having to fag the ball for the Southampton players every time they went out. Obviously, it was pathetic, really. They should either have ball boys at all grounds or not at all. I don't agree with this teams deciding whether they have spare balls around the pitch and leaving it up to the club. I think that's totally wrong. I think the Premier League, you should have balls on those little yellow stands all around the ground so they can pick another ball up and carry on playing. I don't agree with that thing at all. I had a bit of a rant on my thing about it. I'm not happy about that. It don't work for them. Obviously, they're losing. If we were good enough and we should have been to beat them, it wouldn't have mattered. It wouldn't have mattered because they would have been chasing the game. But because we were chasing the game, obviously, we lost the flow with the VAR decisions and the fact half the time we had to fag the ball for Southampton because Mr. Forster, the goalkeeper, is one of the best. He's one of the best at wasting time, away grounds, never mind at his own ground. So disappointing, but a point's a point. We'll have to take it, won't we? That's all we can do.
Yeah, definitely. Big up Chelsea fan, Mike, Luca, all in the chat. We'll move to some transfers then. We'll start with the players that have come in. From River Plate for 14 million plus add-ons, Julian Alvarez. What's your thoughts on this signing, Bernard?
Yeah, I think most people agreed he's going to come in and hit the ground running. He's not going to be farmed off anywhere. I mean, he turned 22 about 3 days ago, didn't he? So he's 22 now. By the time he comes, which could be July, November or January, I can't see November being at any point in that because they'll all be sodding off to the World Cup. So there's absolutely no point. If he doesn't come in July, if they're still in that Argentinian Cup, that seems to be the thing delaying him coming over, then obviously it's going to be January because what's the point of him coming before the World Cup starts for a couple of weeks? I mean, it's just absolutely no point in that from a personal point of view, from a footballing point of view. So I'd like to see him at the start of the season, but as I say, that seems to be depending on how they do in this cup competition. I don't know the title of it. I'm not going to try and pronounce it. But he looks okay. He looks fine. It's, for me, he can play on the wing as well. So, you know, has Pep got plans not to use him as an out-and-out striker and some other guy might be coming up top? I don't know. I don't know what Pep's thinking because if Pep, you know what Pep's like. He'll probably have him as a false nine and a winger. He'll come in as a striker if you like. But so we don't know. We don't know further down the line. But if he does come in January, don't forget as well, Pep, in theory, has only got about 4 months left on his contract. So he could be coming to a brand new manager as well. Again, that's another thing that has to be sorted that we don't know yet. And I don't think we'll know anytime soon. A lot of people say on social media, all these new signings, all these extensions, Pep staying. You know me. I mean, I had a Pep watch a couple of years ago thinking he was going. So I have no confidence he'll extend again. But hopefully he will. But bit early yet to hear that, but it's good news. And obviously, this lad looks talented. He looks talented. I saw one of those highlight things where they just show what he did in one game, you know, rather than showing different games and stuff like that. Yeah. Just show one match he played in. And he gets about. It doesn't always work. He seems to get sort of one of these things where if he gets a rebound, he'll dribble and he might get the look of the rebound. Sometimes he might not. So he's keen. He wants to get involved. And he's only 5'8", 5'7", 5'8", but he looks bigger. He looks bigger when you watch him. He does look. He's got a bigger presence. You know, I mean, obviously Aguero, height-wise, was never big, but obviously he made up for it in other ways. And this lad looks bigger than 5'7", 8". I was dead surprised at his height. On the pitch, and that's a good thing, obviously, on the pitch he looks far bigger than his actual physical dimensions, if you like. And he looks great. And whether he's part of a forward line package, which might include people like Delap, who may come back into the frame at some stage. Now he's back from injury. I hope so. And dare we say Haaland? Probably not. Dare not say that. So he could just be part of a 2 or 3 man attacking package for next season. But he's going to come in. I don't think for that sort of money he's not going to be farmed out. He's not going to be farmed out to one of the CFG teams or a championship team at 16, 17 million plus add-ons, whatever. He's going to come into that team and expected to do a job. So he should be interesting.
Yeah, definitely. And then on the outs, just before we go to that, big up Niall, big up Static, both in the chat as well. On the outs, there's been quite a few on loan and permanent. We'll start with the main one, really. Ferran Torres, 46.7 million to Barcelona. What's your thoughts on that one, Bernard?
Yeah, he's played a couple of games. He scored a goal, although he scored a goal in the game they lost. So it didn't really make any difference in the end. But, well, the fifth out in Barcelona. What surprised me about Barcelona is when you take someone like Torres on, who's obviously, you think, oh, they're going to they're planning for the future. He's trying to build again, which they're going to have to do because of these financial problems they've got, although they've been linked with every top player as well as all these kids as well. And Torres is a kid. He's unproven as yet. He's a risk, but he wants to be there and he has got talent. We know he's got talent and all, good luck to him. He didn't want to stay at City and we don't want anyone at City who doesn't want to stay, especially if they're going to use it as a stepping stone, which it's not something that happens that much with City these days, the size of the club. But yeah, he's interesting. Then they take on someone like Aubameyang. I don't, which sort of smacks of desperation for me from Barcelona. So they seem to be building this young team. All right, might need some older heads, more experienced heads as well. But it just doesn't gel with how Barcelona are working. It seems an odd thing, but he'll do all right. He'll do it. As I say, he's shown bits for us, didn't he? We think of the Newcastle game, where he scored a cracking hat-trick, of course. That was brilliant. But it wasn't always like that with Torres, mate. Some games we didn't even notice him when he played 90 minutes. He was pretty in and out. And again, he hadn't quite got used to Pep's way of playing, and he could be a fantastic player. But say he could have stayed at us and done all right. But hopefully he'll do okay. But I think it's a step down these days. Barcelona fans probably won't agree, but I think it is personally. And good luck to him. As I say, if someone doesn't want to be at City and we can get 46.7 million, which is a nice little profit, hey, so be it. We can reinvest that money, obviously.
Yeah, and we only bought him for 20 million, so that's 25 million profit. So, so that's nearly, it's more than double than what we paid for him, what we're getting back. Some permanent moves to lower leagues and abroad. We'll just go through these quickly. Matt Smith has gone to MK Dons. Luka Ilic, Estac Troyes. Luke Bolton has gone to Salford City. Patrick Roberts to Sunderland. Felipe Sandler to Feyenoord. Samson Robinson to Port Vale. Cameron Godadebo to Colchester as well. None of them were really fighting for first team football, to be honest, was there?
Don't think we'll see any of them playing for City ever, whether they come back or not. I mean, some have gone permanently, as you said, there's a couple gone permanently anyway. I think Sandler's a buyback clause, isn't it, with Philippe Sandler? We do have a buyback clause, I believe in that. But I don't think for 1 minute, Patrick Roberts to Sunderland, I don't think for 1 minute he'd ever come back to City. Obviously, he's been at I think we were joking on another pod that if Patrick had stayed another 3 years, he could have had a testimonial. It was just just ridiculous that he's been there so long. And the only goal he ever scored was the Etihad was against us, I was there for the Celtic game. So, yeah, I don't see any of those names you just mentioned there coming back. And there's a young lad, obviously, Mr. Doyle as well, has been loaned out, hasn't he? And that's a worry. That tells me that he won't ever be wearing a first team shirt either, which is a bit of there's always exceptions, but we don't have many. There's not many exceptions to this rule where these guys go out on loan. Very few come back and play for the first team. They usually end up going somewhere else. I'm hoping with Tommy Doyle that won't be the situation. There's a couple of others as well. I'm thinking that they're very young, so it's all if they're loaned out when they're young, you've got a chance. But when they get to 21, 22, and they're loaned out, you think there's not a lot of future there for him. So we do hope Doyle will come back because of his pedigree, but it is a little bit of a worry. Obviously, the other guy who was in Germany's come back, hasn't he? He's come back and gone across. Where's he gone to Stoke? He went to Stoke or Bolton? I can't remember where he went now. You'll remind me. He went over to Germany. He's come back.
Tommy Doyle was at Hamburg.
That's it. Sorry. Yeah, sorry. So he's done that. There's someone else, isn't there? Who's the other guy I'm thinking of? There's another one of the better. Not the guy who's. Did he get a foul? He got really bad foul showing on social media the other day. He got.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple like that I did have it on a bit of paper, but I've lost my bit of paper now. I've slept since then. But yeah, that's the thing. That's the worry. Oh, Trafford's done well as well. I mean, obviously James Trafford's an interesting one because I could see him coming back and being. As I said, we mentioned Stefan before, didn't we? And I can imagine Trafford coming back and being certainly for a season or two. With the first team on the bench, and Stefan will go somewhere else, as I can't see they'll ever replace Edison in a million years. So he's getting old now. He wants first team football. He wants the pressure, and obviously Mr. Trafford's only 19, I think, which is very young for a goalkeeper. 4 clean sheets and assists. He's doing really well at Bolton, obviously, but I think he'll come back and be our number 2. To be honest with you, in all fairness, at say 2021, he has a season at Bolton if it goes well, and why not? And then I think we'll have to. I think Mr. Stefan will go permanently. I don't think he'll be loaned out. I think he'll just go. I think he'll just sign for someone else. And they say because it's not good having someone like Stefan as your backup keeper. He wants to prove something, but you either have a young lad or someone like Scott Carson, someone at the end of the careers. It won't do Trafford any harm to come back after his loan period and be on as our second keeper. So that's potential from what I've seen because he seems to have his head screwed on as well. So that's good. Yeah, the other one I was thinking of was the fact we kept McAtee. Yeah, so it's on my mind, just McAtee. The fact we kept him he obviously extended his contract. That was a good sign that he wasn't loaned out, which means obviously. We know Palmer sort of jumped ahead of him a little bit. I think McAtee and Palmer were quite level on playing for the first, chances of playing for the first team. But Palmer's took his opportunity and sort of nudged ahead. But that was good to see because there was a sort of half of me thinking he might go. I thought, because of he didn't have that commitment. But obviously, McAtee's decided now to stay, and he's staying in and around the first team. So hopefully, Pep will give him some chances. I don't know how many chances he'll give him. Pep will, like in this FA Cup game coming up, he won't be risking any young lads. He'll be playing all his older guys because they've not played for a couple of weeks. So, well, that was nice to see with McAtee. He was on my mind before when I was thinking about players. So that was good to see.
Yeah, and some more players that have gone out on loan. Oscar Torrente has gone to Girona, you mentioned before. Tommy Doyle to Cardiff. Finlay Burns has gone to Swansea. Zalan Vanska has gone to MTK Budapest. Taylor Howard-Bellis has gone to Stoke.
That's the guy I was talking about. Taylor Howard-Bellis got really badly fouled against Huddersfield, I think, for Stoke City. That was the one. Yeah, sorry, mate. Yeah, go on.
Yeah, and Trafford has gone to Bolton, as you said. Do you see any of those players making it into the first team in the future?
No, as I say, perhaps hopeful for Mr. Tommy Doyle at some stage, but I think most of them, even Mr. Trafford, who I've just been going on about, I can't see him. Then again, I've not watched him. I don't know if you've seen any of his games. I've watched the odd where they've seen highlights and show a save. It'd be nice to watch him for a full game just to see how he does in a full match sort of thing. And obviously, he's an interesting one, but he's far too young. Anyone who's 18, 19, 20, it's so hard to tell, isn't it, mate? It's early doors. It's certainly with a goalkeeper. Goalkeepers. I remember you won't probably remember a guy called Nicky Weaver. I mean, at a young age, he was fantastic. He was brilliant at 19, 20, 21. But then, obviously, as he got older, most goalkeepers improve with age. But sometimes, if you're very good when you're young, you perhaps don't keep that up. It's quite a high pressure place to be as a goalkeeper, I think. It's hard to keep up that level. And Nicky Weaver was another one who was superb for 2 or 3 seasons, and then just faded out and sort of struggled a bit. So it's a bit early for Trafford. But those names, possibly say, I'd love Tommy Doyle. He's the main one. I'd love to come back and because of his pedigree, and that's all because of his pedigree. And he's a City fan. And any of those guys that are City fans, not just City fans because they've been at the academy, but they've been brought up as City fans. I want them all to come back and play for us, but life doesn't work like that, unfortunately.
Yeah. Mike has asked where's Lavia. He's normally in the academy team. Now and again he gets his chance in the first team.
Yeah, he's not been loaned out or anything, has he? He's still playing. He's still. I mean, the academy team has to have some players. We can't loan everybody out, can we? It's just like that's why you can win the academy league one season, the next season you might not do so well because players are in and out all the time. It's just weird, and but they need that experience. That's why Pep wanted a B team, wasn't it? If you think back to, he's always hinted at a B team to play in the lower divisions, which obviously will not happen in this country, but obviously it happens in Spain and stuff like that. That's why he wants a B team, because he wants those players to play experienced players more rather than just playing other academy teams or EDS teams or whoever they are. He wants those players to get that experience, and obviously in Spain they don't. In this country we don't get it. That's why players are loaned out. But they also want to play regular and get used to formations and stuff like that. So it's funny, isn't it? You can't win either. It's 6 and 1/2 dozen of another. You can't have one. You can't have that one because you can't have the other one. It is difficult. But Lavia. I mean, you think about Lavia, you think about people going on about Declan Rice and saying they might go for him in the summer. Well, obviously, Lavia's that sort of role, isn't he? He plays DM, does he? I think Lavia at the moment. But he's far too young. He's not going to be cover for Rodri, because Ferner's got, obviously, he won't be playing next season. He's hardly playing this season. But if Rodri's there next season, which he will be. Can you imagine Declan Rice coming in and both playing that similar position? They can't both play, so one of them's going to have the nose put out of joint. It's all right putting pressure on one or the other, but Declan Rice is so much potential. He's not going to be happy sat on the bench covering for Rodri, is he? So I'm a bit confused unless Pep has some sort of system that allows them both to play at times and then sometimes one to cover the other. I just don't see it. But a player like Lavia, which the lad just been mentioned there, but he's a good 2, 3, 4 years away, I think, from having the potential to do that sort of DM role, and he'd be great cover. But it's a bit too early yet, I think, for Lavia.
Yeah. The next thing we'll look at is the contract situation at the moment. A couple of extensions recently. We did mention before that Wilson Esbrand has signed a new contract yesterday. James McAtee signed a new one, which you mentioned before as well. So we'll look at the contracts, starting with 2027. That's the longest contract, and then we'll work our way down. 2027 then is Cancelo, Jack Grealish and Ruben Diaz. 2026, we have Stones, Edison, Palmer, and Keiki. 2025 is De Bruyne, Laporte, Ake, Stefan, and Bernardo. But there is rumours he'll be signing a new contract recently as well. 2024, Walker, Zinchenko, Rodri, and Foden. But I do believe we're looking at getting a new contract for Foden as well. And 2023, Gundogan. I think I saw rumours about him apparently getting a new contract. Sterling, Mahrez, and Jesus. And then 2022 is Scott Carson and Fernandinho. So we'll look at these shorter ones. Who would you like to see sign a new contract out of those with shorter contracts?
Well, obviously, Foden's one where everyone wants to sign up as quickly as possible. There's no doubt about that. The interesting one for me is Gundogan, because he seems to have gone out of Pep's mind at the moment. He doesn't seem to. I put him down in my team for Fulham when I did my little thing, but that's only because I'm thinking, well, I can't remember when he's had a decent run. He's done the odd sub appearance and he's done the odd game, but he's not really getting many runs recently. So he's an interesting one. In the same way, there's no need to panic. I don't think Stones is a bit longer, isn't he? But the same way, Stones is just been totally. I'm sure he's not being ignored, but again, he's another one who isn't getting game time at the moment. But with Gundogan being, as you say, such a short contract, that is an interesting one. I would have thought Gundogan would be tied down by now. And as you said, there have been rumours, but there's certainly not been anything particularly recently I've seen on Gundogan. And the same with Mahrez and Jesus. We've not really heard much about those guys, have we? I mean, would I be sorry if they went? No, I mean, none of those three, Gundogan, Mahrez and Jesus. I love Jesus because of his effort, don't get me wrong, but if they ended up going and going elsewhere, Gundogan's knocking on a bit now. Do you know his age? I'm not too sure of his age.
31, I think.
Yeah, so I mean, Gundo needs another year or two extension, doesn't he? If he's going to stay at City, he's at age now where he might get one more payday. And that certainly doesn't surprise me. Mahrez, he must be a similar age to Gundogan, is he, Mahrez? How old's Mahrez?
I think slightly younger, maybe 30.
And I do, as I say, I love Jesus, but he's never quite worked with Jesus. We never found the right spot for him. And he can be. Say against Southampton, I thought he played very well against Southampton. The guys, sorry, not Southampton, Swindon. Sorry, he played one of the better. But again, it was the opposition we're playing, so that sort of sums it up. But I wouldn't be disappointed if any of those three didn't and ended up getting some money for him. As long as they don't go on run the contracts down. That's a problem, isn't it? They run the contracts down. We don't get a bean for them. But of those four that are coming very soon, Foden would be definite that we need to tie down. And again, I think we need a little bit of an attitude switch from Mr. Foden as well. Again, he's not been quite at it recently. And he needs to up his game just a little bit. I'm being a bit critical, I know, but I don't think Foden's been at it, to be honest with you, the last 3 or 4 games. So he's another one that perhaps something's on his mind. Obviously, he got in trouble, didn't he? He got on the naughty step a few games ago with Grealish. Yeah. So, but yes, if Foden shows his potential, which we know he can, and he knuckles down, he's the only one really I'm worried about. I say, Gundogan, I appreciate what he does for the team. I certainly appreciate it more now than I did a couple of years ago. But to be honest with you, he's not really getting the game time. And I think Mahrez is just, Mahrez is Mahrez, and he'll play a cracking game and then he'll disappear for a little while. But he is world class. So, it's interesting, mate. But as I say, do you imagine losing Gundogan, Mahrez and Jesus over the next 6 to 12 months? You never know.
Well, the most likely one I think we need to do really is Jesus, because he's still quite young, 24, 25.
Again, it's based what Pep's doing as well. If Pep's going to stay and he gets, he loves Gundogan, or he did. I've not seen much evidence of it recently, and he likes Jesus. Well, he says he likes all his players, but you can read between the lines. And obviously, at the end of the day, he could say he loves Stones and say he's got kahunas and stuff, but he doesn't show in how he plays him, does it? Let's be honest about it. He says one thing and does another. So as it probably should be, he'll defend his players. Of course, he was not going to say I don't like him. He's crap, is he? Let's be honest about it. But So as you say, Foden followed by probably Jesus, as you say, because you know me, I always defend Jesus anyway, because I think even though he may not have some of the talent of the others, he does have a lot of talent. Of course, he does. He plays for Brazil. He must have talent. Yeah, he doesn't always, sort of get everyone's support on the pitch. He always has mine. So I'd probably agree with you. As long as Pep's there, I think Pep's happy-ish with him anyway.
Yeah. Big up Anthony and Talk, both in the chat as well. 9 points clear currently at the top of the Premier League. Are you still a bit worried about the title, or do you think it's done?
Well, I'm always worried about the title, mate. 9 points is out, mate. It'd be 6 if they win the game in hand. 6 points is nothing. With what, 13, 14, 15 games left or something like that. And just before we just leave that, we obviously Bernardo is been hinted that he will sign, and that'd be a wonderful thing if he does sign. There's nothing. I've not heard anything today, but that'd be great news if he does. And obviously, the other one we didn't mention is Sterling, who seems to be still stalled on it, doesn't he? That's he could be on it. He could be still on his way. As I said, I've been quite impressed, but certainly for what he did against Southampton, no, he can do one for me. Thank you very much for what you've done for us. If you're not happy, go. So he's another one who's just 2 or 3 years away, a couple of years away, isn't he? So it's not desperate, but it is running on just a little bit. Yeah, at 9 points. Say it could be 6. To say they still have to play us at our place, and we'll always have a tough game against Liverpool. It's strengthened there. They bought a decent winger, haven't they? I think he gave us a bit of shtick when he played against us. Once I remember,
scored against us at the Etihad for Porter.
He's a good addition for them, but I say they don't need a lot of additions. They keep their squad fit. They keep the players fit. They've got a cracking. We know they've got a cracking team. They can beat most teams. So. we can't afford any more slip-ups. We can't afford another Southampton, and we got Brentford at home and then Norwich away. They should be. If we don't get 6 points out of them two, then I'm not going to be confident. But it's a nice position to be in. I remember saying back in October, if we were up in and around Liverpool and Chelsea at Christmas time, I'd be happy. And obviously we're now into February, and who'd have thought we'd be, people were saying we'd won the league in January, which was a load of crap, as we know. But I'm happy, but I say I won't be happy till there's 2 games left and we're 7 points ahead.
And Saturday, Fulham at home in the FA Cup, 4th round, sold out stadium as well on Saturday.
You've got the tickets cheap enough. That's what happens. It should be good. A lot of people going for a lot of kids going for the first time as well, which is what we want to see. You want to see that.
Yeah. How are you feeling for the game on Saturday?
I'm looking forward to it because I'll be honest with you. We got beat, which would be a disaster. We shouldn't get beat by Fulham, even though they are playing very, very well. I don't get as worried. I get upset, of course I do, but I don't get as psyched up for cup games, whether it's even the Champions League. All right, the final last year I did, of course I did, but I relax more in cup games because you can push it to one side. The league is everything to me, and I just want to enjoy it for what it is. I hope the atmosphere is great. I don't know how many Fulham fans are coming down. I don't imagine it'd be more than 2,000 or 3,000. I'm not too sure what their allocation was. So I'm looking forward to it. I did my team today in my preview, and to be honest with you, if we get half of them, I'll be happy because I just don't know how Pep's going to do this because he's got so many of his first teamers available. They're all fit as far as I know. And he won't play kids. I've took a chance on Palmer playing. Probably won't. And that's Palmer's playing without Bernardo in the team as well. So that's I'm sort of half and half whether that's going to happen. Yeah. And I just think he'll go strong. He won't play any kids at all. There might be a couple on the bench, but he's not going to play any kids. He's going to play a first team because he has to. We've not played for a couple of weeks, and a lot of those teams need to get rid of the Southampton game out of the system as well. I know a couple of guys, the goalkeepers of both Stefan and Edison have both played midweek, so it'll be who's come back better. I mean, I'm thinking, usually you'd say Stefan, but I've gone for Edison. I think he'll stick Edison in, which he does sometimes in FA Cup games. He doesn't always play the backup keeper in FA Cup games, but again, obviously Edison's got an extra day coming back as opposed to Stefan, who stayed a day extra, I think, playing for the US. So that'll be interesting. That's an interesting one. But apart from that, the goalkeeping situation, I can't see Carson playing. I don't think Scott will get another game, to be honest with you. I do prefer Edison, but it won't surprise me if Stefan plays. I hope he plays a little bit better than he did in the last leg of the FA Cup anyway.
Yeah.
And apart from that, it's going to be all the main guys. And it should be a good game. They've got a game on Tuesday. They play Millwall Tuesday. Fulham. I'm thinking he's not going to play his big 11 for this one. He's not going to play. I think he's got one eye on that. They've got to. He's got to win. He's got to win promotion with Fulham. That's part of what he's brought in to do. Marco Silva. He's done very, very well. He had a great January, as we know, broke records and everything in January. Obviously, they got a disappointing draw in the last game against Blackpool at the Cottage. But I think they were. I think they looked a bit tired. I think he said it himself. They were a bit tired because they'd had a bit of a good month in January. But it obviously, all sort of comes back to that Mitrovic guy. Obviously, he to me, I did compare him to Lukaku, not in his stature or looks, but obviously he can be brilliant one minute and absolute buffoon the next, and that's how I think Lukaku is. He can be world class one minute and then he's got clown shoes on the next. And Mitrovic, he's scored 28 goals so far this season. That's not bad. That's not bad going, mate, is it? 28, and we've still got over a third of the season left. So yeah, it should be a good game. But as I say, with Silva, I think he might play a slightly weakened team. And so we shouldn't. There shouldn't be a problem for City in this one. If you remember, the last time we played him in the FA Cup 4th round, they got a player sent off in the first 5 or 6 minutes. So that if they keep 11 players on the pitch, they might make a bit of a game of it for a while. But if we don't win this by 2 or 3 goals at least, I'll be very, very disappointed.
Yeah. A stat here on Fulham. They've scored 74 goals in the Championship this season. The team that are closest to them in the Championship are Blackburn with 45. So there's a big gap there. And it is, of course, top of the Premier League against top of the Championship. So,
Well, we were good at records. They actually broke with that run they had where they won 7-0, 6-2, and 6-2. They actually equalled they equalled the record that was set by Chester City, not Manchester City. Chester City in 1933 to win 3 consecutive games by 6 goals or more. So we like to do our records, don't we? Well, there was one Fulham got. So well done to them.
yeah, and unfortunately, I know someone died actually on Saturday at
Yeah, fan.
Hull.
Yeah, I think it's all to do with obviously. I think this COVID situation. I think obviously there's a knock-on effect health-wise for people, not just through COVID, but the fact that people aren't perhaps getting to see doctors and stuff as like they should, and worrying about things. They're more worried about COVID than other things. And I think they were seeing this knock-on effect because it's happening a lot, mate, isn't it? All grounds around the country. A lot of fans are having trouble. A guy obviously passed away outside near Asda, I believe. The last City game passed away near the Asda store. Sadly, but he didn't pass away at the time. I think he passed away later, from what I know. So these things are happening, and they're happening all over the place. As I say, I don't think it's some of it will be COVID related. Of course, it will. But I think just general health. I just think people aren't getting to see the doctors that they could do. They're not getting the medical help they could do, and we're seeing this now in football grounds. It's probably happening in life, but because it's happening so often, we are getting to see it in football grounds and stuff. And it's just the sign of the times, and it's not great, obviously, but. Yeah, so we can do what we can do, can't we? Obviously, a big football ground like City, if something happens, you can be fairly sure we've got the people there to sort it out, obviously, but other clubs aren't quite as lucky, unfortunately.
Yeah. We'll probably wrap it up there then. I think we've covered everything we need to. We'll go to you then, Bernard. Where can we find you, mate?
Yeah, I've changed my Twitter now. It used to be at Charles Deneen, you probably remember now, but just to make sure, because it gets confusing, Bernard and Charles, so I've just stuck everything on Twitter now at Bernard_Deneen, and obviously if you stick Bernard Deneen into any Google search engine, you'll find all my YouTube stuff, my City stuff, and my film and TV stuff as well, if you're into films and TV. So, but that's your starting point, Bernard Deneen. So as long as you put that in your engine, or follow me on Twitter, I try and follow everyone back. I do check every couple of days. That's your starting point. But I'm easy to find, mate, because it's quite a rare name.
Yeah, the double N as well.
That's it.
Yeah, so you can find me here, of course, Dugout Daily on YouTube. We also have another YouTube channel called Hit the Apex, all F1 content over there. You can also find me at MCFC Hips on Twitter. I do also have another Twitter. I have been kind of busy while I've not been streaming, at @FootyAwayFans_ over there as well. So everybody, big up for being in the chat. It's good to be back. We're live again at 10-7 for Cameroon against Egypt in the African Cup of Nations semi-final. So hopefully Egypt can go through, so Liverpool can be without Salah for a little bit longer. So everybody, take care, and I'll see you all later. See you soon.